Hi, my name is Alaney, but most people call me Laney. If you're new here, hi, and if you're not, welcome back. Um, Today I'm going to be going over all the books I read in March and my April TBR. The first book I'm going to start with is a book called The Butterfly Garden by Dot Hutchison, and it's about a man that kidnaps girls ages 16 to ages 16 and up. Usually he strives for 16 so he can have a longer period with them, and he kills them at 21. He tattoos butterflies wings on them, and then he holds them hostage in this garden that he has cuz he's very wealthy and, well off. And so he has a lot of power to, do all the things that he did for many years. And this book kind of follows this girl named Maya, but that's not her only name because she's a girl with a mysterious background, and she is the one being interrogated, and she had a very hard life. And throughout the book you realize that this girl has gone through so much. And the book starts with interrogation because the cops kind of notice that all the girls cling to her and they look up to her, so they thought that she probably had something to do with it, but she was just such a sisterly and motherly figure to them. Not really motherly, but kind of, because like she really helped them cope with being captive and abused. And the ending was somewhat of a letdown for me because I just expected more, and I felt like it was a bit lazy, and it just felt very anticlimactic. It didn't do anything for me. I didn't really feel anything about it when I read it. I was just like, oh, it just felt very like last minute. But I would say read this story for the girl with many names because Maya isn't her real name. And I just feel like the main character of this book, her story, is enough. It's worth it. It makes this book worth it. And from the very first page, this book will keep you captivated. Trying to see if I can say anything without spoiling this. Okay, because since they're gonna be, that they, were rescued because they're in an interrogation. So I wouldn't really be spoiling anything, but there was a character in the book that helped them get rescued, but he was also a part of it, and he just annoyed me because in the end they kind of were conflicted about what should happen to him, and they were trying to make it seem like they were trying to make it seem as though he was redeemable. But I was so upset with that because I was just like, first of all, he acted like he was going to be a light for them, and then they quickly realized that he was not. He was just as complacent. He was just complacent. He wasn't going to do anything because he fell in love with Maya. And the only reason he did something because his brother, I don't even remember his name. The youngest brother I'm referring to is Desmond. The other brother, I don't even remember his name. I don't want to because he was actually an abhorrent, atrocious human. Like, this man did something unspeakable. He would abuse the girls. He was the textbook definition of a sadist. This man was disgusting. But Desmond, the youngest brother who helped save them, he was just gonna let it all happen because he didn't want to stand up to his father, and he fell in love with Maya, and he didn't realize that he was just as worse as the rest of them, and they were trying to. It felt like they were conflicted about how to handle him, and I'm just like, no, he needs to get as much prison time as the rest of them. He was a junior in college when he found them. They kept saying the youngest brother as if that, like, it kind of could attest to his innocence and his like lack of courage. Dude, you're a junior in college. You're like 20, and you're around 20 years old. And then by the time they were found, he was a senior in college. I didn't feel any I didn't feel anything for him. I didn't feel like at the end when he got shot, I was just like, oh dang. Sorry. That's not even a spoiler. That's not really a spoiler because the ending is basically the twist ending. But everything that happened to him, he deserved it, and I just wanted to get that out of my system because I feel like it just kind of intertwines with society when men do things that are expected of them, and then people are trying to like argue whether or not they should be praised for it. You were supposed to do that in the first place. Like, That like that you did you literally did what you were supposed to do in the first place. I don't know. It just annoyed me, but other than that, this book is definitely worth the read, and I rated it 3 stars. The next book I read was Carmilla by Joseph Sheridan LeFanu. I hope that's how it's pronounced, but Joseph Sheridan LeFanu. And this is the cover. Oh my god, this is out of all the books I read in March, this is my favorite. I'm gonna just go ahead and tell you guys. This was my favorite. This book was just so entrancing from beginning to ending. I loved everything about it. It literally creates a world of its own. Like it was one of the books out of all of them where I had vivid images in my head of what it was like and what a movie would be like. It was beautiful in every way. Even the illustrations were really beautiful. I don't know if I should show it just in case you guys want to like purchase the book for yourself. I don't want to spoil it, but they're so beautiful. The illustrations, everything, and the relationship between Laura and Carmilla is what's most beautiful about this book because it just it's a reflection of so many things in my opinion. It's because this book was made in the 1800s. Oh, okay, I'm gonna talk about how the story begins. So basically, it's not really spoiling anything, but basically Laura and Carmilla, they run into each other because they got into a carriage accident, and right off the bat, you know something is off because I mean, in the beginning there was signs, there was foreshadowing because they were talking about odelic forces and just different entities that like you could just tell something was eerie was going to happen before. And then the letter especially that they received was like a very it could like it was a clear sign that something that was a clear foreshadowing that letter. I don't know why they didn't take that as a sign, but the carriage accident happened, and Carmilla conveniently was the only one hurt. Like that's another thing that they missed. They just stopped picking up. I feel like Laura, she was picking up on a few things, but I can't even in because like she was the narrator. She was like around 28 years old when she was narrating, and she was 19 during the actual events that were happening. And during the narration, even she picked up on a few things, but even her past self that was experiencing those things was kind of like peeping that things were amiss, askew, like things weren't right. And so, but she was like a lonely girl. She didn't really have a mother figure in her life. So she still decided to like, befriend Carmilla. And even though she felt like something was off with the mother, she was very willing to befriend Carmilla because, like she just wanted a companion. And it's just I don't know. Their little romance, I get it. Like I get why Laura felt so conflicted because it was such an intoxicating romance. Like even when they were describing it, I was just like, it's kind of weird how she felt repulsed or she felt disgusted by her own feelings because it genuinely seemed as though she wasn't, and she was just telling herself that, or that's how the author seen it. But although he was writing it like that, he was trying to write it as if Carmilla was, you know, taking advantage of her and just, using her. You can just tell that although he was trying to write it a different way, you can't change the facts, even if you try to, you know, rewrite history. Like that's literally it's just so many times where you can tell they were trying to make it seem as though Carmilla was like preying on her, but that's just what that just can be conveyed because it just kind of contradicts how Laura is describing what she's feeling. And Carmilla is another person that you can tell had conflicting feelings because she seemed as though she loved Laura, and but she also needed to survive, and you can like see how that is conveyed through the book and represented in the book. Like there are certain instances where you could like she was deliberately trying to hide that she was feeding off Laura. I feel like if she was a sadist and she was like she thrived off of like causing Laura pain, she would have been less. like she's been less willing to cover up what she was doing, but she went out of her way to try to cover it up because I think she genuinely had feelings. She even, I don't know if it, I can't tell if this was a ploy or just her being manipulative, but she even gave Laura an amulet and she told her to wear it. She was just like, this will help with the like nightmares. This will ward off like bad spirits and entities. And she was, I don't know. I was like, I don't know if she was trying to help her or she was trying to play her. And I genuinely believe that she genuinely was trying to protect Laura from herself. But she was trying to fight her feelings, but she was also trying to fight her nature. And that's beautifully conveyed in the book. But I understand why some people might not interpret it that way because she also preyed on this their friend's niece, General Spildorf's niece, and I noticed that the similarities between Laura and General Spildorf's niece is that they're both raised by like males, because like the General Spildorf's niece was raised by him, and then Laura was raised by her father because her mother died, and they don't explicitly say if she has a mother figure or not, but I'm just kind of assuming that she doesn't, and it just kind of seems as though that they were trying to tell us that, oh, Carmila is preying on girls that are lonely, they don't have a lot of friends, they don't have mother figures in their life. But I don't know what the situation is with General Spildorf's daughter because we don't have enough information to really speak on it. But I genuinely feel like there was love there. There was this one quote from the book, and I just love how they were just totally enamored with each other before they even knew each other. They were like it literally was giving love at first sight. Like I love that. But there was this quote from the book that I loved. Carmila, she said it to Laura, and they would do things in this book that were so sensual. I was like, wow, they really just they were really like, and I don't know, enraptured with each other, or like they were just totally hypnotized by each other. And it was so insane because they would do these things, and I'm just like, do they not care that people probably could see them? Like that's actually insane that they're just doing that out in the open. But she placed her arms about my neck, drew me to her, and laid her cheek to mine, murmuring with her lips near my ear, "Dearest, your little heart is wounded. Do not think me cruel because I obey the irresistible law of my strength and weakness. If your dear heart wounded, if your dear heart is wounded, my wild heart bleeds with yours." She said that because Laura had a lot of questions that she couldn't answer, and she was just, I think that was her way of saying that I can't tell you everything. I wish I could, but you can trust me, and I care gravely for you. I care about you so much. I care about you deeply, and I just thought that was so beautiful because in a lot of books, like like Twilight, or like books where the main character is mysterious and they have this secret, they're supernatural and they don't want to. They kind of like make the person feel like they're going crazy, and they kind of try to you know um gaslight the person and not really manipulate them, but they kind of try to make the person feel like they're what's the word, they kind of yeah, they kind of just gaslight the person, and then until it's like too late, and it's just like that's so annoying. But I feel like Carmila, she was like in her own words trying to tell her that, like, I love you and I can't tell you everything. But yeah, and even the ending of this book is my favorite because it kind of is a testament that they, I know I keep reiterating this, but they genuinely, they loved each other. Like she literally dreams about this girl. And it doesn't even sound as though she's saying this in like a caveat way, like, oh, or like she's scared, like as a warning. She genuinely is saying it as if she's like yearning and longing for Carmila. It's so beautiful. But she says, it was long before the terror of recent events subsided, and to this hour the image of Carmila returns to my memory with ambiguous alternations. Sometimes a playful, languid, beautiful girl, Sometimes the withering fiend I saw in the ruined church. Sometimes I a reverie certain I heard the light steps of Carmela at the drawing room door. Like that sounds to me. I know because it was kind of ambiguous, like open to interpretation. But that last sentence, I was just like, it just feels like she's waiting for her to come back. Like she misses her. It's not only me. Am I being delusional? Is it because I'm like I don't know. I don't know. Is it because I'm hopeless romantic or something? I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. This book, I don't know. I'm gonna reread it one day. This is my favorite book. I'm trying to figure out whether I should give it a 5 stars, but for me, it was a four. It was a 4.9 stars. It was just perfect. It was perfect in every way. The illustrations, but yeah, I gave it a 4.9 stars. The next book I read was allegedly by Tiffany D. Jackson. It's the story of this girl named Mary, and she at 10 years old, at the ripe age of 10 years old, she was convicted and sentenced to prison for the murder of a little white newborn. This book is is one of those books with an unreliable narrator, and that's not the only book that we'll be reading about today that has the same trope. But you throughout reading this book, you soon realize that she is very unreliable because for me, I think I feel like for everybody they found out different ways why she was an unreliable narrator. But for me, I knew early on that she was an unreliable narrator when she would describe the darker skinned characters in a derogatory way, and the people that she saw that had, or people with desirable traits and features, she described them in a way that was pleasant almost, or like normal. I remember there was, for one example, there was this girl and they were just like, she described her name was Tara. Her name's Tara. And she was like, I call her Tar, because she has dark skin, and that was the only thing that she really explained and described about her. But there was this white character, she described her as having blue hair and blue hair and blonde skin, but blonde hair and blue eyes, and it was just totally different than how she described. And it's just I noticed that, but it's like also she would her boyfriend who was like darker skinned, she would describe him and she would describe him as as if he was just like this. Like I don't know, she would describe him as if he was like a goddess. I mean not goddess, but a god. And I just feel like I don't know, it just felt like her personalities kind of conflicted. Sometimes it seems as though she had identity issues. Sometimes it seemed like she had like this like desire to like live and continue, and then other times it seemed like she was just this docile taciturn girl that didn't want to stand up for herself, because there was like one point in the book where she stood up for herself, and I was like, yes, because those girls in that group home were torturing her. Like it went way past bullying. They were making her life a living hell. Like you can't take somebody's mattress, rip up their books every single day. Like that's basically, that's not right. That's torture to me, in my opinion. You can't do that. That's no way for a person to live. So I truly, truly understand why she did it. So she did something to them, but I don't want to say it. But she stood up for herself. But then after that, the girl that she like messed up when she defended herself, the girl just kept threatening her and threatening to kill her and her unborn child because she gets pregnant in this book. But she just that's how I knew she was an unreliable narrator. But the I just realized I didn't really tell you guys the synopsis of this book. But yeah, Mary, she's convicted and tried of killing a white baby that she would babysit with her mom, and once she gets pregnant, she is trying to find a way to keep her baby because she belongs to the state, and therefore she has no bodily autonomy. That's basically what they're saying, because I didn't even realize that could happen, that like if you have a baby and you're in prison, that they could just take it away. Because I've heard of like babies being born in jail, and like people talk about like babies being raised in jail. So I thought like if you wanted to, you could keep your kid. I just thought that people would just give away their babies because like who wants their baby to grow up in a foster home or like a prison or a jail? Like I thought that you had like, but I realized that when you belong to the state, you belong to the state. You have no autonomy over your body, and that's really sad. And this book is another book with a disappointing ending. I think I mentioned that other book, the first book, The Butterfly Garden by the Hutchinson, was disappointing. The ending was disappointing, but this was another disappointing ending because okay, so this book, the main thing about this book is that she's threatening to expose what really happened that night because she wants to keep her baby, and it kind of is kind of telling the story and trying to get us to figure out who did it. Did she do it or her mom? And I feel like the book is trying to lead us towards the mom, but you only have two options: the mom or Mary. And in my head, I was like, it would just be too easy to say that the mom did it, and I kind of knew that she had something to do with it. I was just hoping that like they would give us a good reason, and maybe it was like I don't know, but I noticed that a lot of people in the reviews they were talking about how they felt less bad for Mary when they found out that she was the one who did it, and oh dang, I just revealed it that she had something to do with it, and and I was just like, bro, that kind of upset me because first of all, she was 9 or 10 years old. There's kids out there of this color that do things, insane things, and they literally, I don't know, but it was just it's one of those books that makes you think deeply about misogynoir, race, class, and everything. Like it's this, the whole system was against this girl, and she just basically had to fight for herself. She never had a chance to be a child, and that's what a lot of people who were writing reviews didn't realize. Like the person that she became doesn't negate the things that happened to her. She's literally a product of her environment. She's literally the product of her environment. And the fact that a lot of people just were missing that just kind of can tell you that like they will probably be a part of the problem if something like this would truly happen. Because first of all, this girl literally was abused by every person, or like neglected by every person in her life that could have did something for her. Like she was used by her mom, she was neglected by her mom. The lady that she was babysitting for, the mother of the baby that died, Mrs. Richardson, she even noticed that like Mary was very, she would read grown up books, she would count money for her mom, and she was like, I found it a little weird, but like I knew that Mary's mom wasn't the brightest. Mary, she was very smart and intelligent. It's like, if you noticed that, why didn't you step in and try to talk to her? It's like the counselors, the school teachers, everybody felt her. So it was just one of those things where it's just like, what else was she supposed, how else was she supposed to turn out, what else was she supposed to be? And I'm not saying that just because you have a hard life and you have a tumultuous life, and like I'm not saying that just because that you know I'm not saying that excuse horrible behavior, because it doesn't, but I'm just like, realistically in real life, when people go through hardships and the only thing they're the only thing they're doing is surviving, they're fighting to survive every day, they're not going to always turn out to be the best person. Some people, they can turn out to be the most kind and considerate person you've ever met, and you wouldn't even be able to tell that they've ever gone through something in their life, because they're just such a light. They're literally angels, like they're literal angels. But there's some people that they don't know any better, and it's like you can't even blame them. She's just doing what she thinks is right. That she's really only taking care of herself and taking care of her mom. And every single time she would try to get help for herself, she was neglected, and things got worse for her. Every single time she would try to tell her mom about the abuse from the stepfathers that would come in her life, her mom would just like brush her off. And I don't know, this book, the only reason why I was disappointed by the ending is because I felt like it was lazily written, and I felt like there were certain things that weren't explained. And I feel like if they took a little more time, it could have just been better. I just feel like, yeah, of course, Mary being like the antagonist of this book was an option, but I just feel like they could have elevated it. Like maybe give her split personalities, because sometimes she contradicts herself in a lot of ways. So I'm just like, maybe she had split personalities or multiple personalities, or maybe a disorder or something. I don't know. I feel like it could have explained why she did certain things, you know? But also her mentality that she has with the book kind of is okay as well, because it's just like, if she's just plain old crazy, And that's it. I mean, that's enough because of her environment and the way she grew up. And it's just sad because she literally was just preyed on by everybody, by her, the man that got pregnant, because the man, she was 15 and he was 18. It's just sad because she genuinely was trying to cling on to that boy. Her mom abused her physically and verbally. The ex boyfriends, the COs, the correctional officers, the COs, the people in the foster care, just everybody. She was supposed to be getting counseling every week or so. The government wasn't even keeping up with that. Just she's literally just the end product of the world. But yeah, I would definitely say read this book because I feel like it's a really good commentary you know, on a lot of subjects. But yeah, this book, I gave it a 3 stars. The last book I read was, ooh, ooh, sorry, my books almost fell off. The next book I read was We Have Always Lived in the Castle by Shirley Jackson. This book, where do I even begin? This book was something that I've never ever read before. I don't even know where to begin with this book. It was actually from the beginning, something is amiss, something is off. Okay, so I'm just gonna talk about what this book is about. So we start. This book is about Mary Cat, Constance, and their uncle Julian living in this house in this like big mansion on their estate. They're a very wealthy family, and the whole mystery in this book is what happened to their family because most of their family members died of arsenic poisoning, and Constance was evicted. Evicted. She was convicted, but she was found innocent of it. Wait, is convicted the right word? She was charged. She was charged with the murders of her family, but she was acquitted for it. And from the beginning, they don't hide the fact that Mary Cat probably had, because like Constance, once you meet her, she does not seem like someone that would just murder her family. But Mary Cat, all signs pointed to her, and I just feel like they made that very obvious, and I think they did that on purpose. But when you do find out that Mary Cat was the culprit, it's not surprising at all. I genuinely expected that. I want to talk about Constance because Constance is a character that after I read this book, I thought about because at by the end of the book, they kind of, I don't want to spoil it, but they come up with a solution for how they've been treated by the villagers. Right? They come up with a solution. And it's just so sad because Constance, from the beginning of the book, she was kind of hinting at the fact that she wanted to venture into the world because it doesn't say it, specifically in the book, but she has agoraphobia. Like she genuinely has agoraphobia. But she's been doing things. She's been taking tiny little steps to, see if she could do it. And you can just tell she was having tea parties with one of their neighbors, not really their neighbors, but someone in the village. She was also talking about going out into the village. She and then the last thing that she did that kind of indicated that she was gonna try was that she let their uncle, I mean not uncle, but their cousin Charles into the house. Although they never really let people into the house and they kind of stayed to themselves. And Mary Cat instantly saw this as a threat, as a sign that their universe is going to start crumbling and something chaotic was going to happen just because Constance wanted to do something for herself for once. When I tell you guys, the most infuriating thing about this book is this, like the way they just kind of commanded Constance to do things as if she wasn't a human, as if she was like this robot, this maid robot, like Molly the maid. And it's just like, it was really sad. And Constance, she didn't see anything wrong with it. She was just like, this is my duty as a sister and as a niece to do this. And you could tell that the women in her family kind of set the precedent for that standard. And it's just so sad that had to continue that because it's just, she just genuinely didn't do it. I don't even think she even made meals that were her favorite. She always made meals that Mary Cat and Uncle Julian made. And I did not like Charles, that vagabonded bum of a man. Like, one one thing that men do, one thing that men have is the audacity. They will do, they will act as if they control everything. They will just come into your house, act like it's just, oh my god. Charles is he is literally the epitome of male audacity. Like the way that man came into the house and tried to run stuff. Mind you, his dad died. They didn't leave him nothing in the will, right? He comes to their house to visit them and he starts running stuff. First of all, you don't have any money. You're living under our roof. Like, please tread lightly. That's what I kept thinking to myself. I was like, there's no way that this man is like raising his voice at people and trying to tell them how to do things when he's only been there a few days. Like, y'all, it was truly exasperating. It was truly exasperating how much gall this man had. But the every character is important in a story, no matter how small they are. They all contribute to the plot of the story in some way. Charles, he for me, I don't know how how his character is written, and because I know he's supposed to serve as the antagonist, but for me, he's integral to the story because oh, my voice is different. Sorry, sometimes my voice kind of just goes out. But for me, Charles is integral, although he's very exasperating. He's integral to the story because he reveals Constance's true feelings and state of mind. And without him, we would probably never even know that because Constance puts on a face for her family because she's doing what she feels is expected of her. And once Charles comes and he's constantly nitpicking, causing chaos, it kind of makes her anxious and stressed out. And sometimes she'll just slip and she'll tell Mary Cat, like, please, like, and she'll just be like, why don't you just like do this or do that? She was just like, what's our family isn't normal. And then Mary Cat would take that as, oh, like he's changing Constance, but like that, no, that's genuinely how that girl feels. And it's crazy because Mary Cat never took the moment to like just really considered that wow, this is how my sister really feels. She kind of just took it as oh, things are changing. Charles is changing her. She's changing for the worse. He's gonna make things worse. And it's just like your sister is literally telling you how she feels. She was not satisfied with her life at all. And Constance is just a really sad character. And she genuinely is a product of a woman just being complacent in the life that she feels like she has to just play. Like she has to play a part and she just feels like there's no other way of life. And it's really sad. And Mary Cat didn't do it. It's like Mary Cat did not care at all. Mary Cat wanted to live on the moon. That's a quote you're gonna see so many times throughout the book. She wants to live on the moon. She wants to take people to the moon. And I realized she'll do it by any means. She doesn't care how anybody else feels. Her and Uncle Julian is another very important character as well, because in the book you'll see that Mary Cat and Uncle Julian they don't address each other at all. They don't communicate with each other. They kind of ignore each other's existence. And I was kind of confused by that, but I think well, I took it as I think it represents the fact that they can't coexist in each other's world. I feel like Uncle Julian he has to go over the events of the day every day because he tells himself that he's writing a book, but I think he does it to remind himself of what happened. And he kind of is he kind of is a reminder about the past, and he's also a voice of reason. He kind of is the voice of reason throughout the book, and it's telling us to stay alert and to tell us that don't get don't get manipulated by the things that Mary Cat is telling us because how she is acting is not normal at all, and the things that she's telling us we can't trust what she's saying. But his character was meant for us to question everything that is going on. And the reason why I mentioned that they couldn't coexist in each other's world is because Uncle Julian has to constantly remind himself every day that something is off. No, constant Uncle Julian reminds himself every day about what happened so he doesn't forget, and because he tells himself that he's writing a book, but I think he genuinely realizes that there was something off about that day and something wasn't right and he's just trying to figure it out. But the arsenic messed up his brain. And the reason why Mary Cat can never address him is because she's trying to free. She doesn't want to acknowledge what happened that day because she wants to live on the moon. She wants to live in her own little universe, and the constant reminder of that day isn't good for Constance or her because it kind of reminds them both of what she did, the horrible thing that she did. And that's why I feel like that was my kind of interpretation of why they never addressed each other in the book. When I tell y'all, I'm not even exaggerating. They literally never speak to each other in this book. And she would constantly say that she was going to be kind to him today. And I think what she meant is that she was just going to ignore him. Because I'm just like, she never even made any effort to be kind for him. So I think the author was trying to say that she was just going to, let him live in his world. And, that helped her live in her little world as well. But I say all that to say that the ending was just so it was so disappointing. Not that it was like disappointing in a way that I felt unsatisfied with it. It was a good ending in my opinion, but it was it made me feel very melancholic, especially for Constance because I knew in the beginning of that book she really wanted to venture out into the world. She wanted to explore and she just wanted to be more than what she was. And uh, it's sad to say that the only thing that was left the only thing that she was meant to be in this book was a caretaker, and by the end of it she's nothing more than that. She's just Mary Cat's caretaker. She wants to be Uncle Julian's caretaker and Mary Cat's caretaker. To Mary Cat's caretaker, mind you, Mary Cat is an adult. She's 18, and Constance is like 28. And it was just a sad ending for me because it just kind of it's representative of two worlds. Meerkat is representative of a person that has total freedom and has been granted this like power of being able to just do whatever she wants. Like no one really questions her. She's a very anomical character and she does very arbitrary things. I think she has OCD, but I don't want to just say that she has OCD because I don't really know. But she does very ritualistic things and throughout the book, and it's just like okay, and she does it to ward off evil and to just make sure everything remains the same. And she likes living her life on repeat in a cycle. She liked everything to just be like to go as planned in her head. She likes her routine to like she just likes things her way. And she doesn't like to deviate from that. And then you can tell Constance was just so tired of that because she was literally the one doing everything. So of course she would be tired of it. But you know, Mary Cat was a symbol or just representative of a person that just had total freedom and just carefree and could do whatever they want. And then Constance was representative of a woman that was literally held hostage by her expectations and the things that her family needed her to do. And even though she wasn't actually held hostage, she could make her own decisions. She just felt as though she had to. And especially being that this book was probably set in the 1950s or 1960s, it's just I can see that it represented the author's feelings and state of mind, which is a beautiful thing. And I would say that if you're reading this book and expecting some type of like big twist or shocking ending, you won't get that. But I would say please read it for the characters and the world and the aura of it because that's the beauty of this book. While I was reading this book, it was another book where I had like vivid imagery in my head about like what the book would be like. It was just giving Tim Burton vibes, and it was just very whimsical. Also, it was macabre. It was macabre or macabre, but it was also whimsical in my opinion because of how absurd it could be at times. But I wanted to read like a few words from the last chapter, but this was in reference to the context. I'm gonna give context behind this. No, because I would kind of spoil the ending, but okay, so these boys came to their house and they were messing with them. The parents um sent them some food to apologize for it. And then on the last page it ended with perhaps he had a good whipping to teach him manners. That's what Mary Cat said. We will have an omelet for breakfast. That's Constance. I wonder if I could eat a chawl if I had the chance. That's Mary Cat. I doubt if I could cook one, said Constance. Poor strangers, I said. They have so much to be afraid of. Well, Constance said, I'm afraid of spiders. Jonas and I will see to it that no spider comes near you. Oh, Constance, I said, we are so happy. And it's so sad because she said we are so happy. We are so happy. We are so happy. So she's either totally apathetic to the fact that Constance didn't just become the person that she wants to be and she's not self fulfilled at all, or she genuinely believes that that is a good life and that's what's best for both of them. And it's sad because she said we are so happy, and it's just like it's just sad because it's just like I am happy, you are happy, Constance is not happy. I mean, she believes that she's happy, so I guess they both are happy, but it's just it was not fulfilling to me, and I just felt so melancholic reading that. I was just like, wow, that's really how the book is gonna end. It didn't feel like an ending. It felt like a death. And that's all I'm gonna say. But I give this book a 3 stars. A 3.5 really. On Goodreads you can only like you can't like do halves or anything. But for me it was 3.5. I mean you can write it in your review. But it was a 3.5 for me. Maybe a 3.7. But it was a really it was a perfect classic to read. Okay. So the next book I'm going to talk about is Me Before You by Jojo Moyes. And I've watched the movie. It's one of my favorite movies of all time. It's about a girl that starts working for a disabled man, and he completely changes her world for the better. He helps her evolve in so many ways. She's a very eccentric and outgoing girl with a very bubbly personality, and she just is she just doesn't take the initiative, and she doesn't take the initiative to do anything. She's very complacent, and he just shows her that there's so much more than in the world that she lives in, and she shouldn't take it for granted, and he knows that for sure. He knows that out of anybody in the world. He just wants to see her happy, and I just really hope I don't cry. But I wanted to read this book because I just needed a breath of fresh air from all the books that been reading, because they all had a dark theme, and they've all kind of just been, I don't know, not the best. Not they I mean they have been the best, but like, it's not good to just read dark things and consume dark content and like very content with dark themes like consistently. So I was just like, I'm gonna give myself a breath of fresh air and something new to read. I'm gonna read a romance. Although it's not my favorite genre, I was just like, I know I love it because I love the movie. And yeah, and this just looks like a book that was meant to be read in the springtime. Like, look at the cover, it's so pretty. But yeah. Also, I forgot to mention, sorry, this is kind of inappropriate, but I forgot to mention that the book Allegedly and the book The Butterfly Garden, they both they have a few subjects that are very triggering, so proceed with caution. Forgot to mention that little caveat in the beginning. I told myself that I would, but I just want to say that those books have very triggering subject matters, and you should it's in the subject matters are like mental health, sexual abuse, death, and things like that. And I think this book does too. um has very sensitive subject matters in it, so proceed with caution when you read these books. But I'm just very excited to read this book, and I love the movie, y'all. Like, when I tell y'all the first time I watched it, when I tell y'all I didn't even the first time I watched it, I caught it on TV, like on FX or something, and I was watching it on TV, and I just tuned in. I only saw half of the movie when I first initially watched it. I just sound like I said washed, but when I initially watched it, um, when I tell y'all I cried like a baby, and when I tell y'all that scene where he gives her these like butterfly, not butterfly, but bee tights, y'all. Oh, I think that's why bee is on the cover. I just noticed that. But she was the so. Oh my gosh, sorry. I just love this book. I love the movie, and I could talk about it for hours. It is the epitome of love in so many ways. Not even just romantic love, but self love, familial love. Like, it's representative of so many different types of love and endearment. Like, you love from your family, love from your friends, like self love, romantic love, just y'all. But y'all, there was this scene, y'all. Every few years or so, I'll just go back and watch it on YouTube just to feel something, y'all. Just to feel something, y'all. the scene where he gives her the butterfly tights. When I tell y'all, if y'all ever see me watch that scene, you will see the biggest grin on myself. Like even when I try not to grin or smile, I cannot. Like if there was a try not to grin challenge or smile challenge, and that clip is in there, I'm losing money. I'm losing, y'all. That is one of my favorite scenes of all time. I will literally always watch that scene to feel something. Like it's so romantic. He simply got her butterfly tights, and she was so excited. Not butterfly, but bee tights, because she used to be obsessed with these like bee tights when she was younger, and he got them for her. Oh, y'all, and the scene, the dynamic and the conversation between her boyfriend and Will is just so funny as well. Just the perfect scene. One of my favorite romances of all time. It broke my heart. It shattered my heart into pieces, but I love it so much. But enough with that book. Let's move on to the next one. Um, The Turn of the Screw by Henry James. Oh my god, I really hope you guys can hear my stomach because it's rumbling really bad. But this book is about a governess, a nanny that is hired to raise these two kids. Um, they've basically been abandoned by their uncle, and she's just left to raise them in this big old house, this in massive house. And this book is basically it was turned into a show, and I watched it. It's called The Haunting of Bly Manor. And I love that series because the first one, the first installment was The Haunting of Hill House, and then the next one was The Haunting of Bly Manor. I thought they were like a series collection. I think they are. I don't know, but they're both based on books, and they're by two different authors. So the first one is a book by Shirley Jackson, the author of We Have Always Lived in the Castle. It's actually called The Haunting of Hill House. She named it The Haunted of Hill House, and the show is called The Haunting of Hill House by Shirley Jackson. Y'all, when I tell y'all, they're like it's one of Netflix's best series of all time. There's nothing competing with that series. One of their best horror series. When I tell y'all, I told myself I was gonna rewatch it, but I never did. But like the amount of just foreshadowing throughout that show. Oh my god! When I tell y'all, I was shocked. When I tell y'all, gasping, covering my mouth, like audibly gasped, like y'all. When I tell you that it blew my back out. Like when I tell you, I was blew away by the ending and twist throughout the show, y'all. Oh my god! And then when went on Twitter and people were talking about all the ghosts that you could spot, I was like, what? I need to actually rewatch that show. I think I'm just gonna just rewatch it because now that I'm talking about it and I remember how much I liked it, I can't even really tell you guys what really happened because I haven't watched it in a while. I think I watched it like during the pandemic or like around that time. A perfect show. And then in a couple like the next year or like a couple months later, they came out with The Haunting of Bly Manor, which is based off this book, and it was just as good. It was just as good, y'all. It was amazing, and I love that book because I mean the second one because in the first one you watched it, you were kind of like looking out for like ghosts and stuff because you knew that was like what was in the first one, and they kind of caught on that people would be doing that, but there were still a few like little, you know, like eggshells they planted throughout that series as well. But yeah, I'm very excited to read this one, and it's a very light read. The next book that I'm going to read is The Housemaid by Frida McFadden. And it's basically about a maid. Basically, she's a maid, but she's hired as this very wealthy family's maid, and she soon realizes that they are just not, especially the wife. Whatever is going on in that family is not right, and she suspects that something is gonna happen. No, she just suspects that something wrong is going on in that house, and she's also a convicted felon, so she has no choice but to work with them. But this is a book that I've seen a few times on social media, and people have said that it's very enthralling, and I'm very excited to read it. And I remember I was reading the synopsis on the back, the little summary. The last sentence was, "But I reassure myself, the Winchesters don't know who I really am. They don't know what I'm capable of." And I just love that because a theme throughout these books that I read was like, I just felt like no one had any freaking conviction or just thrive or drive to like just or will to live. I felt like sometimes that was a common theme throughout these books that I read in March. But I was just like, I just really want to read a book where somebody's fighting to survive. I think it's because last year I read all the Good Girl Guides to Murder books, and I just love that she had a drive to live and to find out things, and she just had such just fire. That's what's her name? Pip. That's I love that series, but I'm missing that in my life. I need somebody that's gonna fight back. Like somebody that's gonna beat somebody like y'all, I need somebody that's gonna fight back because these books, they were just so they were just so not I don't know. I don't know. I just felt like there wasn't any drive. They didn't want to. They didn't want to fight. I need somebody that with a little fight in them, and I feel like she's the character in this book. She's gonna give me that. She's gonna give me that, and I'm really really excited to read it. The next book I read was The Overnight Guest by Heather Gudenkoff. Um, is that German? That sounds German. I'll Google it after. But it's basically about this true crime writer that writes novels about true crime. But she is in the house of a girl that went missing, and I think that's what she's writing about that. I don't know why people like to do that. You know, when you're a kid and you will see people like tour houses and go to sites or places that people have like disappeared or like murdered or like just really horrible things happen. I'm just like, I don't want to be around that. Like, I think I could like write about something or just like without being in it. I just feel like I don't know. It's just too risky. Like I don't really believe in ghosts or anything like that, but it's just like I don't want that energy of aura because I do believe in energy and like that's why I love the Carmilla because they talked about odelic forces and I just love reading about that. For like about an hour I just like read about odelic forces and I just love the idea of that. But I just genuinely believe in auras and that you can like pick up energies and stuff and things like that. But I genuinely believe that you can pick up energies and people's auras can rub off on you. And I don't like when people, I don't know, I just feel like you're disturbing somebody's place. But yeah, she goes to this person's house to write about them in the house that they disappeared. And during a snowstorm, she finds a little boy outside. And after that, a whole lot of chaos ensues. Uh, I DNF'd it because it's one of those books that have different not plot lines, but what do you call them? Timelines. They have different timelines, and it wasn't that it was too convoluted for me or too complex. It was just that I don't know, especially when you're reading a book of this, like well, the thriller book or a mystery book, it's just like it's the same thing with shows as well, where it will like bore me, where it's like you're very invested and interested in one storyline, but then another storyline happens for a good chapter or two, and then you have to sit through that, and then you're patiently waiting for it to go back to not the storyline but the timeline that you want it to be. And I think I would get bored when it was on a timeline that I wasn't very interested in. And every timeline, like when shows or movies or books have like a little timeline, plot, it's very important and integral to the story because it provides context. But for some reason I get so bored because I'm just like, honestly, I don't know. My brain is constantly telling me that the only storyline that really matters is the one that's the most interesting or the one that's in the present because it's kind of telling you this the one that's telling the story, and then the rest of the timelines are kind of just providing context. And I just don't know. I wasn't that it wasn't, I was bored. That's just kind of just like, I kind of just stopped reading it. But I'm going to get back into it. And one of my goals for this year, one of my reading goals is just not DNF books because I only really DNF two books. Because when I was a kid, if I read a book, if I started a book, no matter how boring it was, I just felt so like I felt as though I had to do it. Like it was something that I had to do. Like I couldn't just not read it, even if it was boring me out of my mind, even though it was something that I wasn't interested in or I didn't like the subject matter. I would just continue reading because I'm just like I have to. But it's just like as an adult, especially when you have a lot of things to do, you're just like, bro, I don't have the time. I don't have time to waste. And it's like books are, you invest your time in them, and sometimes your money. I mean, most times your money when you buy a book, you invest your time and money in it. So you just, sometimes if it's not good, you just feel very, I don't know, you just don't want to finish it. So, but I genuinely want to finish this because I feel like I genuinely think this book can be good, and it will be good. I'm really hoping it is good, but it's just that those timelines were really kind of just messing with my head a little bit. I don't know. Not that they were complex or anything. It's just that there was just this one storyline that I was just patiently waiting to continue getting back to, and then every single time they would like, deviate from that timeline, I would kind of just get bored until I had to go to the next timeline. But I'm definitely going to finish that book this month. The last book I'm going to read is The Silent Patient by Alex Michaelides. And this is the book. It's basically about this woman that shot her husband 5 times. And after she did that, she stopped talking completely. She just went nonverbal. And she just, I don't know, took a vow of silence or something. And this book kind of follows a psychotherapist trying to figure out the events that unfolded that night and why she did it. And yeah, that's basically what the book is about. And I'm very excited to read this because I've seen it everywhere. I've seen it on TikTok, I've seen it on YouTube, I've seen it on Instagram, and I've seen a lot of mixed reviews. Honestly, there's a lot of good things about it, but I've seen people also say that the ending wasn't good at all, and it was just a very big letdown. But I'm truly hoping that this is good. I'm like, I want something that's gonna blow me away. I want something that's gonna blow my back out. I'm just waiting. I just need a book that's gonna kind of just make me just be like, what? But yeah, I'm really hoping that book is that because all out of all these books, I have the highest hope for this one. I have the highest hope for this one. But yeah, that is all that I have for today. I wanted to rant a little bit. This book is already, I mean, not this book, but this video is already an hour long. But I was what my plans are for the future is that as I continue to grow, I want to learn more about literature and just do the work. I'm going to go to school for it, and I want to better. I want to learn how to better articulate myself, and I really want to be good at this. But my dream is to one day kind of start a book club, like a virtual one or something, or like an online one. Even one in real life would be cool. But that's my dream. I just always loved the idea of having, I mean, just a community that you can talk to people and discuss with people about books and just, just converse with people. And it's just, books are a way to connect, whether you like the same genre or not. Like, it's just like connecting with somebody over a book is so cool because it's just like a book is filled with so many pages. So it's like so much to talk about and to delve into. And I feel like it's the best way to just really reach out to people and just form a community. So my dream is to form a book club, and I would name it either the Aalaneybloom book club or Bloom Book Club because my name is Aalaneybloom. And I will always think to myself like, if they were members, what would I call them? And I was thinking like one of my favorite songs is Apple Blossoms by the Red Stripes. Not Apple Blossoms, but Apple Blossom by the Red Stripes. And I've had that song stuck in my mind for a little bit now because I've been just listening to my like throwback playlist, and so I've just had that tune stuck in my head. I'm just like, oh my god, I like had an like epiphanous moment, and I was like, what if like the members of the book club would be named, or their names would be, I mean not their names would be, but I would call the members Apple Blossoms because Aalaneybloom and the Apple Blossom ABAB. I don't know, but I just had that on my mind. Sorry for the little rant. With all that being said, I don't know why I'm yapping. I just like to talk. But with all that being said, thank you for watching this video. I appreciate all this, any support at all. To the people that came back to watch my videos, thank you so much. And to the people that are new here, if you like what you see, please subscribe and like the video. And if you guys have any book recommendations or anything you would like me to talk about, please comment it below. Thank you so much again for clicking on this video and giving me your time. Thank you so much. Bye.